Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga Texas construction update video. Well, it's been a busy week since I last flew here at Giga Texas. I just want to go over a few things. One, I did fly at the Corpus Christi Lithium plant last week. Here's a few shots showing what we saw. I had that video out a couple of days ago. It is posted on my YouTube channel, so I'd recommend that you take a look at that if you haven't seen it. There is a lot of changes around the site. They are much closer to being operational. I'm not sure exactly what their status is, but hopefully they will be fully operational in the one half of the plant later this summer. So we'll continue to watch this on my next trip. Now, right after I finished up flying at the Corpus Christi plant, I proceeded down to Starbase because later that day, the 27th of May, around 6:30 p.m. local time, we got a chance to see this, Starship Flight 9. These wonderful views are from SpaceX showing the hot staging from the point of view of both the ship and the booster. And I got a chance to live stream this launch with Ellie in space from Port Isabel, and we had some amazing views of the launch and the ascent all the way up through hot staging. And I also put a video out showing the sound. It was one of the loudest rocket launches I have ever heard, and many people agree with that too. Of course, I did do some post-flight discussion out at the site. This is what we look like at the location of the viewing. This is Joseph Wolfgram, who graciously provided his home, and later on both Ellie and I got a chance to tour Starbase and go up into Megapack 2 where we see this wonderful mural. So I had a really amazing time during Starship Flight 9. Of course, Flight 9 wasn't the only big news item at Starbase. So was this Mars discussion by Elon Musk and SpaceX. We got a chance to see new hardware, the third version of both the ship and the booster, some really nice renders. Also, we got a lot of detail about much of the progress that they are making and the steps that they need to do to be able to make the Mars mission possible. He also provided this timeline, gives us a rough idea of what they are planning. Now, what of note is just the scale of the number of ships and cargo that they plan on sending out over the next 4 cycles to Mars. Of course, as I mentioned, we did get a chance to see some new hardware such as the hot staging ring. We learned a little bit about their plans for Moon Base Alpha. In addition to that, the plans to go to Mars, work on the heat shield and other technologies needed. Of course, we also learned a little more about the what the HLS lander would look like and the Mars lander would look like, and of course details about what that city on Mars might appear like. Also, Optimus Robot is going to be playing a major role in the Mars mission. So really great overall to get all of these details. Now, somewhat related to that has to do with the nomination of Jared Isaacman as the NASA administrator, which was rescinded by the president over the weekend. Kind of shocking a lot of people and seeing that this is a big negative for NASA, as do I. However, I also see this as a great opportunity now for SpaceX, the Mars mission, and what Jared can bring to the table. Now, he's got the Polaris program. They've worked together on 2 missions already. Recently, the Polaris Dawn with the first civilian spacewalk, and a lot of technologies that were developed for that. Now I can see a logical extrapolation of the Polaris program to support the Mars missions, and I'm looking forward to seeing a greater collaboration between Jared and SpaceX coming up. And here's some thoughts from Jared I'd like to share.
I have a lot of work to do, but from here, it sure looks like a perfect world.
And finally, some Tesla news that has to do with the robotaxi fleet and the service that is being announced here in about a couple of weeks, middle part of June here in Austin. And this is a major event for the company. And we're going to see what it's like to start having autonomous vehicles being providing a service around Austin for regular customers. And this is going to roll out over the next several months, eventually expanding all over the country. So I can't wait to see that, and looking forward to finding out a little bit more very soon. So with that, let's get into the drone, fly around and see what Giga Texas looks like today, and appreciate your watching along. Thank you. If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are considering purchasing Starlink, I would recommend that you use my referral link at the bottom of the screen. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga Texas. good morning from Giga Texas. It's been a week since I was here because I was down at that Starship Flight, but it's great to be back. And I thought I would start off here on the east side, looking back towards the main factory. Then we're going to turn towards the north, just kind of get stock of what is going on here and if there's been any major changes, particularly here on the east side. And we do see the workshops and some of the materials on the right-hand side of the screen. In the middle is the recycling center, and we can still see more of those tires and wheels that have been kind of stockpiled in the right of the screen. Those may be for the employee sale that they do every once in a while. But otherwise, don't really see much as far as changes right now at the recycling center. Of course, the East Warehouse on Wheels looks like it's reasonably busy with a lot of the trailers. Now, of course, we know that last week for Memorial Day week, Giga Texas production was essentially shut down. They were doing some line upgrades and some other maintenance that was going on. We're going to see some activity and indications of that later in the video. But otherwise, things are starting to get geared back up again on this early Monday, at least at the time of flying. Now, as we continue to work our way to the north towards the battery cathode plant and the crash testing facility, I wanted to see if there was any indications of the crash testing that had been taking place over the week that I was gone. Now, before I left, they had a bunch of vehicles that were kind of ready to be shipped off-site. Those look like they have all been moved off-site. And just looking at the crash testing facility here, other than some of that new paving that's going along the east side of the facility, not really much of the change. There are some vehicles along that black fence on the right center of the screen, and others that are lined up waiting for their turn for the crash testing, but otherwise I don't really see a lot of change. We do see that Model Y body at that north end by the fence. That has been there for some time. More paving that goes along the east side of the Wade pit. And as you can see how it kind of continues through the fence towards that crash test facility. And then it ends up here towards the cell testing lab. Now, I did notice that there was a lot of these steel corrugated pipe and connecting elements that are on this east side staging yard. Most of this was there before I headed down to Starbase, so not really a lot of change in that location. As I briefly look to the northeast across this clearing, we do see some additional earthwork that is underway at the north end. They may be preparing to take more of the dirt to other parts of the site. In fact, we can see a dump truck heading that way right now. And as we continue to fly along, we'll get a chance to see where some of that dirt is heading. Now, looking back towards the cathode plant and the main factory, on the right-hand side of the screen is the Cortex 2 facility. It is about one column away from being the full length, and we'll get some closer views here momentarily. More of the concrete panels on the ground here by those trailer sections. I think that's to fill in some of the sections on the east side of the cathode plant that have temporary wall structures. Now, as we get closer in, this is that view. And as I mentioned, there's just one more set of columns, I believe, that need to be installed on the footings so they can extend that building all the way to that north part of the perimeter grade beam. Roof decking is following quickly along, where about 3/4 of the roof decking has been installed. And this is just a nice view on this east side of that structure of how things are coming together. Some more forms next to the Keystone trailer, and those look like they have not moved in the week that I was gone either. Now, we do see some of that blue wall kind of sticking up as a parapet on that southwest corner. I'll give you some closer views of that in a moment, but as I continue to maneuver around, I want to go back over towards the east parking lot and show you a few changes that are going on over there. Then we'll return back to this structure. Now, in my previous video, I did notice that this section had been repaved and relined, and you can tell that there is a drive path now which connects either side of this part of the parking lot. Kind of reminds me of an earlier permit that we saw for this parking lot before it was constructed. It's not exactly the same, but it looks like they do want to have that lane so they can connect across the parking lot. These trailers are those replacement ones that are going to be operational and habitated very soon. This is moving all of the temporary Tesla offices that you can see in the middle of the screen here away from this area so that they can continue their construction. Now this has got the temporary welcome center, new employee orientation center, some of the security offices, and a few others as well. So all of this is getting close to moving away. Now as we come back to the Cortex 2 facility, I did mention that they're putting in the wall, and not only are they adding the wall at the face of the structure, but they're making that parapet wall, and it's being framed in by the steel studs. And as they get closer in, this is a great closer view of how this is all working together. And it looks like this is a different construction than what we've seen in the other facilities, including the die shop and battery cathode plant in the background, as these are going to be those wall panels that'll be textured and then painted or stained. And that's just a kind of a faster way, maybe a cheaper way of making this structure. More work on rebar at the perimeter grade beam and one of those openings. And we see some of these other openings. I think those are going to be left like this as they bring in equipment to do the ground slab. Coming back to the north end, you can tell that the first of the last columns are being erected right now on that perimeter grade beam, and the first of the beams connecting the last two columns on this east or west side. So very soon, probably by the end of the day, the entire structure will be erected, and we'll probably see one beam held back for a topping ceremony, and hopefully I'll get a back by the time that happens and we can get a view of that. On this side of the site, the big thing that you notice is a lot of the erosion because of the heavy rainstorms that have come through the area over the last week. In a way, it's probably good that there wasn't a lot of construction or production because of the severe storms that came through Austin, including some severe and large hail. While we are here, I'm going to show you this pit. You can see some of the gravel mix in the bottom and the crew on the gravel. This is going to be another one of those subterranean vaults, very similar to what is underneath those three trailers you see in the center of the screen. This will duplicate and mirror what we see with the construction of that switchyard, and that allows all of the conduit to come into those control units. Speaking of which, there's another control unit being established and connected here on the north end of Megapack 2. Most of the cables have now been run between the Megapacks and the transformers and along that cable tray in the middle up to that control trailer. And as I continue to fly back towards the south, looking across the Megapack, this gives a nice current view of how this is coming together. And they are still working to put in that perimeter fence and some other finishing items. So I'm going to turn back to the main factory and let's go take a look at what is going on the east side next to the casting machine structure. So I zoom in. This is a nice look into that melt plant with some of the equipment for gigapresses and other items on the right. The reels that are being recycled, some of those large bundles of aluminum that will be melted down, and some other castings that look like they may be getting ready to be melted down. The foreground, we see a lot of the rack mounts with castings for the Model Ys, some of the Cybercabs, and on the north end we'll see some more of the Cybertrucks. This opening with the temporary loading platform looks like it may be getting ready to be used, or it could have been having those black tarps pulled down by the winds and the big storms. This platform is looks like it's getting ready to receive some equipment soon. The crane is ready to lift it up, and of course the view here along the rest of the east side with some of those other temporary platforms and openings that we've talked about before. I'm going to bring the drone up over the power lines. We're going to fly back to the north and get a closer, lower end view of the work that is going on here on the east side of the casting machine structure. From this vantage point, we can see all those castings in the rack mounts. Of course, the baghouse filtration plant, which for the most part, looks operational. Now there's some scaffolding still around, some work on the ground floor, but I have been seeing some sort of kind of heat coming up out of that large chimney on the top, and that kind of indicates that it's operational. I also, every once in a while, hear the furnaces inside here going. It's kind of a dull roar from where I stand and fly the drones, and that was going on again today as well. I'm going to bring the drone down even lower here on the east side and fly over some of these castings. You see a Cybertruck rear on the bottom. See some of the Cybercabs on the left on the ground and in those rack mounts. And as I turn back, this is a closer view of the operation here with some of those parts that we mentioned on the ground and the recycling that is going on inside that facility. And those bundles that they have on those pallets, kind of palletized rectangular bundles, really seem to be growing in numbers here quite a bit. Now on the north end, this casting, staging, and handling yard, we see some more of those Cybercab ones on the ground, more of the Cybertrucks in the rack mounts, and a lot of rack mounts are very empty. Now interestingly enough, here on the north end of the paint shop, not only do we see some new line marks that have been placed, we also see that all of the stands for the paint booth that has that holds the bumpers and the mirror covers and some other parts for the Model Ys have been moved away. So with those marks, I'm not sure if that's going to be, they're going to move these that they've placed here on the north end back there, or if they're going to be doing something else. But you can tell all of those paint stands still on the ground here at that parking lot. Just to the north of the Cyberburn, we see some more trenching and that flexible conduit being installed. And that wraps around all the way over towards this section where we see some of that orange fence going underneath the screen. We've also been seeing a lot of trench work with pipes going along this berm, and now they're very close to the flagpoles as they continue to work their way to the south. As we fly to the south along the west side of the factory, this just gives you a sense of some of the activity that is going on here. A couple of trucks that are delivering perhaps some items here by the grass on the sidewalk. Not a lot of employees going into that opening right now on the left-hand side of the screen. But here we do see a bunch of things that I want to spend a little time with. So we're going to first fly over to where they're doing the trenching. And they have some of the trench boxes in, some of the excavation work is underway, and we can see some of that purple wrap pipe on the right-hand side of the screen that will be going into these trenches. And this is going to continue for some time down along this berm, past the flags, and then to that south end near where that caisson is located. Now on the left-hand side of the screen, we see two ramps now for the exit point of the Model Y. I'm going to fly around the flags and we're going to get lower and take a look at that change. And while we are maneuvering the drone, this is a good view of that west main entrance and also some of the display cars at the base of the flags. But where we see that Model Y just exiting, and some people ask, is production coming back up? You just see a Model Y driving itself, just came out of the factory. What I do want to show you here is the fact that they've extended the size of the ramp with railing on the right with the red, and they've added that other ramp in on the left. So it looks like they have at least two exit points for vehicles now. And that is worth watching, and we'll see what this may or may not indicate. Now that we are in June, there is still a lot of speculation about a lower cost vehicle. And with just 4 weeks left in June, there's not a lot of time before we start seeing something, and that is what I'm hoping to be able to show you. Coming back up to the north, I do want to spend a moment here at this loading platform. You can see that the roll-up door is open. The crane is getting ready to pull up some more items, and we see a lot of that white painted steel getting ready to be moved up inside. All throughout this part of the factory, underneath the roof here, is being expanded, and additional capability for production is being added. Also, we see some the solar panels that had been moved up to the roof, and that is to continue to extend the solar panels along the bottom part of the Tesla emblem, and I will show you a little bit more of that later in the video. But for now, we'll start on the west side of the highway, and take a look at what is going on in this clearing. Now, we have talked a lot about the permits and also some of the information that I've been given that this is eventually going to be a welcome center construction site, but clearly for right now that has changed, and they are using this for some vehicle parking, but also all of these new transport trucks with the capability of moving a lot of vehicles off-site are still being stored here. Now, we did see these on my previous video about a week ago, so it does not look like much has moved, but there are some workers here today. Looks like they're preparing for operations. Maybe we're going to start seeing all of these put into service very soon. And if that's the case, then this is a significant increase in the amount of trucks that can move vehicles off-site. Flying further to the south over this material staging yard, just a quick view what is being stored here, and some of that inventory is changing out, but not a lot. And of course, the Evapco units, fan units, base, and some of the connecting pipes and other items still really haven't seen much of a change here. I am still wondering where those are going to go, and I'll keep watching for that. As we pass over this material staging yard with those two tents, we can see that that fence line has been kind of moved around those tents a little bit. And as I come in closer to the end of line facility on those kind of 4 lanes on the left-hand side, I'll zoom in. We can see one of the first of the vehicles for today driving autonomously over here. And again, this is early on a Monday after a week of downtime, so the production is ramping back up. It does take them a little bit of time. I would expect by the end of the day, we're going to see production coming up close to the levels that we've seen before. And also, as I mentioned, they were doing some line upgrades during that time, and that may be related to those extra ramp that we saw over on that exit point. So definitely something to watch for. Now, I'm going to first show you the vehicles that are here in the outbound lot getting ready for shipping. And these are, I would imagine, just left over from the last week or so. I don't think that these were manufactured this morning. That would be a good amount. But the rest of the lot is pretty empty right now, which is what you would expect after a long week of downtime. Nice view across the outbound lot to the main factory. And I'll bring the drone down here and we'll take a look at the materials being stored here on the far west side. Much of this north part hasn't changed really much at all, but I wanted to see what was going on with the transformers. It looks to me like there's been a few extra added in that week, but once again, not a lot of activity over the last week, so not much change with the numbers here, but there are changes directly ahead at the top center of the screen. Before we get there, just a look at some of the materials and equipment that are being stored here, waiting for their opportunity to be moved into the factory for assembly. And I would expect to see an uptick of this work now that we've got past the Memorial Day week and that week off. As we come up over the power lines, I did want to also take a look at what was going on here next to all of these transformers. It looks like the numbers haven't changed a whole lot, although you can tell with the lighter color white which ones are the newer ones and which ones have been here for a while. Now that large sprung structure tent that you see, we did see all the materials being delivered and then the initial setup of that tent on my previous videos. Now that has been completed. I think that with these trailers, with the items underneath the blue tarps, we may be seeing another one of those tents getting ready to be erected. I'm not 100% sure, but it'll be something that I watch. Either that or this is just a lot of new items, new steel parts that are being brought in that will be installed into the factory. Not really sure at this juncture, but with the tent here and those items delivered, there may be a relation between the two, and we may be seeing some fabrication work perhaps, but that'll be something I'll get an update on my next video, and we'll see a little bit more activity and maybe get some more clues. As we fly along this section, we see more of those steel items being stored temporarily and also some pipes being delivered. And as we cross back over the power lines and we take a look at that west warehouse on wheels, which has a lot more trailers than we saw on the east side, I wanted to get a quick update with what is going on with this caisson. And it looks like A lot of those concrete pipe segments that were underneath the bridge have been moved in and installed, and more of them have been delivered on the north end of the site next to that fence. One more of those is getting ready to be dropped down into the bottom of the caisson and then pushed into that tunnel bore with those hydraulic rams. So based on the number of tunnel segments remaining, there's still a long way to go. The spoils bin here is where they take that dirt out of the tunnel as the tunnel boring machine was digging the hole or making the bore, and that is what that looks like today. Now, one other thing that I do want to show you on the north end of the outbound lot is a quite interesting development. Now, several videos ago, we talked about permits that talked about some items for the semi truck, and those were going to be put into the end of line facility on the right. While we're here, also just briefly show you some trench work and some of those trench boxes that are underway right now. But with those items for the semi-truck, it was suggesting that we might see maintenance capability for semis. Now we see a semi that has arrived here, and the mega charger that has been installed. We saw that on the southwest side in the storage. We also saw in one of my videos about a week and a half ago this equipment being put onto a yard truck and moved over here for installation. And now that looks like this is all installed. Right now, at the moment of my flying, the mega charger is not connected to the semi. But I believe that while I was at Starbase, there were some indications that that was, in fact, being used to charge the semi. Now, with this capability, I'm really excited to see if we're going to have more of the semis working here at Giga Texas. Several years ago, I reported that there was a plan eventually to use semi-trucks here for the movement of new vehicles. That has been a long time in coming, and nothing really has materialized until this point in time. But as you can tell, there is one here now with the charging to support it. So hopefully we'll see a lot more of the semis here at Giga Texas. So let's cross over the highway and we'll resume on the other side. I thought I would show you what is going on with the solar panels. We mentioned this earlier in the video. They're making this line that kind of underscores the Tesla emblem with the center part of the screen. This line continues to work its way from the south to the north. Here we see more of the unirack mounts being put onto the roof, getting ready for the solar panels to be installed. They also have some of those inverters that have been wired up. And this is a closer view of what this operation looks like right now. There are some solar panels nearby, some on those wheeled items. And I think we're going to see some more on the right-hand side of the screen kind of being stored here in a moment. But this is what these look like. Now, the unirack mounts kind of freestand on the weatherproof membrane. They're held down by bricks, and then the solar panels are installed. And this way, they don't have to drill through that weatherproof membrane, and they're able to be moved around easily for maintenance in the future. As we come back down and come towards this section where we saw the window line being added in so that it blended the original window line and the new one, this is what it looks like today. All the wall panels appear to be stained now across the entire section. So that work is, for the most part, done. Inside that opening, they're stained black to match the windows and kind of give it a relatively seamless look. And that is what I'm kind of expecting here as we come around the southwest corner at this new section. Right now, it looks like they are doing a texture coat on there, and actually by looking at it closely, it looks like this is white stain that's going on. If that is in fact the case, that is a very different color scheme that I was expecting. And again, I was thinking it would be black, but it looks like that may be white. So as they finish that up, we'll take a look, and I'll be kind of curious what your comments are. Do you like how they are putting that treatment on, or would you have liked something different, maybe a darker color? But anyway, when I get back on my next video, that should be pretty much complete, and we'll have a pretty good idea what it looks like. here on the southwest corner next to the South Bridge. Work continues near the caisson with some more of the trench boxes trenching. And you can definitely tell with all the rains that we've had, erosion throughout this area. So because of all the rains, because of the weather and what has happened here now, we're going to have to see some rework as they re-prepare this for the concrete vaults and the pipes that are going to come through that section. But that's a pretty good view of what that appears like here today. And obviously a nice look across the cyberpond to the main factory. So I'm going to fly around the south end. We'll reposition to the east side and take a look at some detail work. As we come back down lower to the ground near the cooling plant, I did notice that there is a crane plus some of the counterweights on these trailers. So we may be seeing this geared up perhaps to install some more of the glass on this east side. You can see where it is all missing right now, but that's just conjecture on my part. We'll see what they actually do. The temporary platform is still there, and although it is in place, I have not seen a lot of equipment going in there yet. I did notice crews working on this kind of line that separates the original building and the new extension. And it looks like they may be putting in some sort of weatherproofing or some trim pieces to bring those together and seal them off more effectively. As we come up over the power lines towards the multi-level parking garage, I did want to show you that this staging yard is starting to be used for more equipment and pipes. See those kind of green ones on the right, more of the steel corrugated ones on the left, and we'll see where those are going to be installed here soon. As I do turn back, you can see that work with that dividing line underway, the trench work along the north side of the cooling plant, and not a lot of change because again of the storms. And it looks like 5 of the 6 fan units on the cooling plant are in operation day, and we have a worker on top that gives you an idea of scale. So that will bring to a close this kind of long flying review of what is going on here since my last video. I hope that you enjoyed what we were able to see and talk about and all the information on the intro. As always, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Take care.